Hello guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Welcome back to my channel, and today I wanted to make a in-depth guide for you to level your crafters from 80 to 90. This will go over doing just the leaves and also a mixture of collectibles and the custom deliveries in Old Charlian. I'll go over the pros and cons of both these ways, how much it cost me, how much time it took per crafter, and I'll include a Google Doc with all the macros that I've used and some resources for you to create macros for your own gear and stuff that caters to you. So with that being said, let's get into it. Now, before we start, there are a few things required, stuff that I did to maximize my XP output, which is the revised engineering manual, food buff, leave allowances, and having my stats or better. And I recommend having a the pentameld gear because this is what I'm using. It lasts you from 80 to 90 through the entirety of those levels. You never have to upgrade. Also, regarding the food buff, you don't need a particular food. I'm only using it for the XP. Also, XP will depend whether or not you are crafting in between crafts. You're crafting the class for a particular item for a particular leaf. If you don't craft the class, you're missing out on a good chunk of XP, so you may have to craft more or buy more. And of course, I did have some rested XP, so you may have to craft less or you may have to craft more depending on how much you have and how much I had. And of course, I highly recommend using TeamCraft. They have a simulator. You can simulate any recipe, put in your stats, and create a usable macro for any of these items. But of course, if you have my stats or similar, you can test these macros with the trial synthesis. But before we start, I'll say this instead of at the end of the video. Overall, I think leave quests are the quickest, but you're going to be spending a lot more and you won't get much in return. Also, you have a finite amount of leaves, so if you're doing this all in a day, you may run out. Personally, I think the collectibles and the custom deliveries are better because you can use the white scripts to spend on crafting materials, which will net you a lot of gil in return. But, of course, you're going to be spending a lot nonetheless, whether you're doing leaves or collectibles, because the items are so expensive at the very beginning, the expansion. I also learned that you should level every single crafter in tandem. There are leathers, there are cloths, there are jewels that are so expensive crafted that you will be spending a lot more if you level each crafter one by one. And you can see as you watch that I learned that a little bit the hard way. I ended up spending way more than I should have if I just leveled my weaver, my leather worker, my goldsmith all together. And what I recommend leveling together is the leather worker, weaver, carpenter, and goldsmith. If you level all of these together, then you will be saving a lot more money. If you level these together, you'll be saving a lot more money. So now I'll show you how I level my goldsmith from 80 to 90 with just leave quests. So starting with leave quests, here I am max level, but I only started recording after I hit level 84, but I only did the Amatrine turn-ins until I was 84. Of course, I crafted them HQ, which is totally possible with the gear that I have equipped. If you don't mind on spending leaves, you can of course just quick craft them because it does take a while. You need 3 Amatrines to turn in per each quest. And of course, you have to craft them all HQ if you want the double XP. Now, the macro I'll include works for any level 81, 40 durability, 1000 difficulty craft. Of course, make use of the trial synthesis and make sure that the macro works for you. If not, you can go to TeamCraft and then put in the macro, adjust it according to your stats. And of course, have your engineering manual and your XP buff on. And if possible, ask someone in your FC, or if you have your own FC, use the FC action to increase your crafting XP gained. But that's not required. It's just something that can help you out. So of course, do all these leaves until level 84. Next, craft the pewter pendulums for the leave the Sage's successor. I crafted all the way to 85, and of course, I'll include the macro down below. The next sleeve that I did is the Gold Rush order. From 85 to around 86, 87, you're crafting freegan ingots. And of course, the macro is down below. Ideally, you are obviously crafting them in the HQ. You can quick synthesize them if you're out of time or you just have a bunch of leaves you want to blow, but I try to craft each one HQ. Mats for these are not so expensive right now since a lot of people are leveling up their miner, but it's gonna get a lot expensive the further you get into the higher level crafts. Now, Goldsmith is a lot better generally than Weaver or Leatherworker because you're not depending on any enemy drops. The next leave quest that we'll be doing is the Needle That Binds. You're going to be doing this from level 86 to 88. And for me, a lot of the mats were actually quite cheap. I do recommend looking for a fully crafted mat first before you look into buying a mat, into buying the mats for the mats, meaning the ruby itself may be cheaper than crafting the raw ruby and the whetstone together, due to people just desynthesizing their dungeon gear and getting a ruby and then just posting it for whatever price that's there. But I crafted these, of course, HQ. If you have some left over, I do recommend selling it because it does go for quite a bit and a lot of people use these crafter items. I also prefer crafter item leave quests instead of something like of healing or of scouting due to some of them needing some alchemy, alkahest, which since I don't have my alchemist leveled yet, or I don't want to get whichever thing is ether sand or whatever, because the mats tend to be a little bit more expensive. The next leave quest that you'll be doing is the Planisphere to Paper, crafting the Crondite Magitech Planisphere all the way from level 88 to 90. Now the mats for this craft were really expensive, and I didn't feel like going and crafting these. I just went to the Junkmonger out in the outskirts of the Charlian, and I bought the normal quality planispheres for 45k each. I did end up spending a little bit more in allowances, but it saved me a lot of money doing it this way. Obviously, this is just because I'm crafting on the 3rd day of release, so you probably won't have to do this a week or so or 2 weeks down the line. But it's great for someone that's lazy, or you don't want to spend too much money. Since this might be the cheaper option, you can also do it this way. But if you're going to be crafting this manually, I included a macro, of course, down below. So that's how I hit level 90 on my goldsmith with just leave quests. Now, it is expensive to do it this way, not as expensive as it would be with other classes, but it is extremely fast. If you have a lot of gil, you can just go and buy them already crafted, but of course, you're going to be spending more leaves since you're not crafting the in-betweens. Overall, I think this is pretty great if you have a lot of money to spare. I think the collectibles and the mixture of the Charlian turn-ins are a little bit better because you do make a lot of money back. So now we're gonna go level my weaver with the turn-ins and the collectibles. So next, you'll be talking to Key in the studio to unlock your custom deliveries. Now, depending on which class you'll be on a different quest line, but of course you can just follow it and get to the point where you need to be to start turning them in. Now, one turn-in gave me an entire level and a whole bunch of white scripts. Now, what can you buy with white scripts? It's now the yellow scripts of the previous expansion. You can buy materia 9s. I'm buying a bunch of cunning materials because I'm going to be needing them for pentamelding my gear later. But check what's most expensive on your market board and see what other people are using and what other people are buying. Now, the mats for the first craft are very cheap. I had most of them already because a lot of them were Shadowbringers mats, and the craft itself was extremely easy. So you craft 6 of them, as high of a collectability as possible, and then you can turn them in. But to continue on the quest line, I had to be a certain level, so I went to do the collectibles. So I crafted the rarefied dark hempen hat. I did craft the in-betweens, the cloths multiple times, so that did also give me extra XP, but these are pretty good for the XP and the price of the mats that are currently there on the market board. Turning them in, of course, gives you a bunch of white scripts. Be careful not to cap when you're turning them in. Just go and buy some material, doesn't matter which one, as long as it's a 9. And keep crafting them until you hit level 83. And of course, the macro for the rarefied dark hempen hats are down below. I decided to go a little bit further than level 83. I leveled all the way until almost 85, but still 84 with the rarefied Almasty Surge gloves, because I was uncertain how difficult the custom deliveries would get, but I didn't need to do that because the custom deliveries are extremely easy, even if you are still level 83. But if the mats are cheap on your market board, then I do recommend just overcapping just a little bit so you can comfortably do all these recipes just in case. So now that we're at level 83, we're able to accept the quest and start crafting the ethereal lens. Now still, you have to craft 6 of them. Gradually, these crafts are getting a little bit more expensive the higher level we go, but I'm just reusing macros that I used before for my goldsmith for these ones as well. So that got me up to level 85, which is perfect to just accept the next quest right away. So again, craft 6 ethereal amplifiers, turn it in, and get a whole load of XP. But also be careful not to overcap on the white scripts. I overcapped by accident and I missed out on a whole load of gal. The next quest you can also accept at level 85, and the best part about it is that you get a whole load of XP just for free. Because this is a quest craft, you don't need any external items to craft this. You just craft, get the XP, turn it in, and there you go. So after you finish that quest, the next quest will be at level 88. But since we're still not 88, we have to go back and craft some collectibles. Now I crafted a few Moko cloths. It's important to craft at least one of the intermediates for a rarefied item, since you do get the first time bonus for crafting a material. And it was cheaper for me to buy mats to craft the Moko cloth, so that's what I did. And to craft the rarefied Moko wedge cap, my older macro still works, so here I am testing it, and I'll of course include it in the dog. So once you level all the way to 88, you can go and head back. So once you're back, you are tasked to create 6 ethereal conductors. Now, oh god, the mats for the conductors are extremely expensive right now, and I made the mistake of not leveling my leather worker and my carpenter together with my weaver. If I had all my crafters together at the same level in tandem, I would have saved a lot more money this way. But since I didn't, and I'm so close to level 90, I'm just gonna suck it up, buy the mats, and continue leveling. But of course, this is just because I'm crafting on the 3rd, 4th day of Endwalker. This will be a lot different down the line. If you're watching this guide later on, you don't have to worry about the price as much, but I still do recommend leveling all your crafters together. So now I'm finally crafting these ethereal conductors. My manganese needle macro still works for this craft. They're all extremely easy. They don't require any HQ mats, so you can just go and craft these. Now, once I turn them in, I did level up, but I'm level 89 still. So you have to top yourself off with some collectibles. The collectible that I decided to craft is a rarefied Arcane Velvet Bottoms. The mats are still pretty expensive. It's gonna set you back quite a bit, but doesn't matter since it'll get cheaper later on. I went and spent some of my white scripts, and then I finally turned in the last collectibles. Careful not to overcap, because those leathers are seriously expensive. I'm finally level 90. So that is how you can level all your crafters from 80 to 90. Hopefully you can learn from the mistakes that I made, save a little bit more guilt than I did, and you have plenty of arrested XP for you to last all the way from all these 80s to 90s. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to everyone that's supporting on Twitch, Discord, and YouTube. You all keep the channel going. I stream on Twitch every Monday and Friday, GMT +3 at 5 p.m, so I hope to see you there. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you next video.